Hello everyone, Luke here, and before we get into talking about Dr. Stone this week, what's the difference? I know this came out a little bit later than I originally intended, but that's because over the weekend I was incredibly busy, had no time to do the video, and also just other things got in the way as well. Particularly, I like a lot of other people, were getting pretty worried about the whole copper thing that's happening in America and how everyone has to like abide by it. Like you can't make any content for not 16-year-olds for kids or anything like that. Or you have to like tell that your content is not made for kids. Well, I can say clearly without a shadow of doubt that if you look here, what does that say there? T, as in T for teen. That clearly removes any problems that I may have here. Yep, see, T for teen. So, yep, America, Dr. Stone is for teens, not for kids, not for, particularly for kids under 13, because I am pretty sure that something like, oh, I don't know, like this cover right here, yeah, that's clearly for a little kid, just showing off Kokoku's ass as well. And also, I best say it now, but these episodes fucking confused me as well. There, I got an F word in. Yeah, my video is not for kids as well. I just wanted to get all that off my chest, guys. And as you can see, got the post right there looking pretty fucking sweet as well. Another F-bomb as well. So I'm just gonna stop now. You guys can clearly tell that yeah, these videos are not for kids. But yeah, let's get into the video because, like I said, these few episodes were fucking confusing. Fuck. Alright guys, in all seriousness, these episodes were confusing, but that's because they kept on changing around things all the time. Like, whenever there would be coming a point where I was like, oh, this wasn't in the episode, a few minutes later, yeah, it is actually in the episode, just structured a little bit differently, and I'll be getting into that in the videos. Like, particularly, the first thing that I want to talk about is Hyoga's flashback, when Hyoga is first brought out from the stone. If I can find it in the manga, yeah, so this is where episode 18 ended with Gen and Senku with the Blades of Science. Now, immediately after that, it goes straight into looking at Hyoga and also the fire in the chapter. Whereas in the actual episode itself, we get Hyoga's flashback, which is right after that portion when after they've saved Suika from the gas monster, and we get the flashback there. Now this I'm all right with because it seemed like a bit kind of like jarring to just have go from here where we get Senku talking about a new scientific thing to going into Hyoga's flashback, and I feel like having it at the beginning of the episode actually makes more sense for the structure of the episode that they were trying to get out. Now, of course, in the actual episode itself, obviously they don't want to reveal what Hyoga's face actually looks like. That comes way later on when he actually does the portrayal of Tsukasa. And I must say they did a very good job of not actually showcasing Hyoga's face when he was first revealed from the stone, just showing him from the back rather than actually showing him from the front. And also, another thing that I really liked about the episode itself is that the brutes right here that Hyoga defeats, they did a pretty decent job of actually demonstrating just what utter dicks these guys actually are, by giving them more dialogue and more to work with as well. And I love that. That's what I've loved about the actual episodes of Dr. Stone. Like they've taken bits from the manga that sort of like background character stuff and just sort of like expanding on with either giving it to more prominent characters. Like, for example, when Kiran got his glasses and everything like that, we had Turquoise and Kokoku's father actually doing the whole dialogue of like, oh, so this causes fussiness disease, so this is what science is all about. They gave them lines to them rather than the random background characters that don't really have any facial features that were actually shown in the manga. If I go back to actually look at it, yeah, here it is. Where we have that part part right here there where they're talking about Kira and Gay's glasses, they actually gave it to those two characters, which I actually like because it gives not more, which I kind of like 50-50. On one hand, I'm glad that they're giving it to characters that were already established, but at the same time, I really wish they would give it to more of the background characters and actually give them more distinct personalities. And also, one other thing that I did like about when we were going through this flashback of Hyoga is that we get more of an establishment of the relationship arc between Tsukasa and Hyoga and how it perfectly demonstrates Gen's line, if I can find his line. Yeah, this line right here. Also, I'm glad that they cut out that little bit there with Tsukasa and Hyoga, because again, like I said, those making Tsukasa more of a chibi-like character, that kind of like takes away from the threat that he presents as a genuine antagonist. But yeah, this guy, but yeah, again says here how weird the two strongest warriors here are once again in complete agreement, and I love how they completely expanded upon this in the anime to give us a more established feeling of what the relationship between these two characters are. And also as well, we get again more cameos from characters that appear later on, like Yukio. Like he's gotten I think 2 cameos now in the anime that he didn't get in the manga, and I'm really glad that they're actually giving him cameos so that they can establish like, okay, this is what this character's about, and when he comes into the anime it doesn't feel like he's completely out of place. Now, one thing I do feel that the manga has an advantage on over the anime is that in the anime, I have the notes right here, is that Senku seems more relaxed about the fire, and that's kind of a big deal for him, because he's just like, fire, no problem, it's nothing that we can't take care of. Whereas in the manga, he's like, holy shit, there's actually a fire going on, and that's something I was not expecting to actually happen. And again, it shows that again, I feel like in this panel it just shows that Senku, even though he kind of didn't want to be the village chief, is kind of like, okay, this is his base, this is his home, and he's gonna have to take care of it from now on and make sure that it's actually up and running, functional. And by the fact that a fire is actually coming in, it's like, holy shit, my stuff could actually burn, it could be all over and be all for nothing. And also we don't get like the scene here where it says the bit right here where it says the residential area where the children are. And again, I feel like that would be something that they would actually be bringing up. It's like, quick, we've got to get everyone out of the residential area, especially the children, since they're in the residential area. I feel like they would have actually been bringing that up, and that would have made it more impactful for the audience. Like, are the kids actually going to be all right here, especially Suika? Now, also as well, what I do love from the anime, and again, like I've been saying throughout all of these videos, is that the anime, even though it includes everything from pretty much everything from the manga, just in like various different orders, or just kind of condenses events into like a single event, it does add things that were so desperately needed in the manga as well, to not only demonstrate how skillful a character is, but also to just add and build on things that were already established. Like case in point here, where we have Homaru, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, Homaru. Yeah, Homarai, however you pronounce the name. Basically, we have a bit in the manga where she's not in the manga, in the anime, where she's actually crossing the bridge after destroying it, preventing Ruri, Jasper and Turquoise from actually helping out in this case, and we actually get a bit of her being attacked by Kokoku's father and Kokoku herself, and showing just how skilled not only them two are, but also how much of a threat she's going to be, and how much of an obstacle she's going to have to be taken down, because of just showing how fast she is. And again, I love that, because it doesn't overstate its welcome. It just states what it needs to be stated, and then we move on. It takes roughly about, I'd say, less than a minute just for that little bit of a fight to actually happen, to showcase the character's potentials, but also to establish the threat that's going to be constant throughout basically not just the rest of this season, but also season 2, if that ever gets adapted, which I'm pretty sure that is actually going to be adapted at some point. Which, by the way, I might as well talk about that. I feel like if they were going to do a season 2, I feel like if they had, like, say 26 to 30 episodes to work with, or maybe not, like 39, something like that, I reckon we could get from basically the ending of where we're going to be stopping at, which will probably be which will probably be just after the initial Stone War begins, when they're all in the snow and they're basically attacking each other, just after when that actually starts. So I don't think we're going to be getting to Taiju and Yusuriya returning to the series, but we'll probably be starting from there right through to the ending of the Treasure Island arc, which in my opinion will probably be about another 5 chapters, which I might as well talk about the last chapter. Fucking phenomenal. 20 out of 10. Best chapter of the arc so far. And the last chapter before that, that was really, oh my god, I can't wait to find out what happens next. We have to wait 2 weeks for that, but it was worth the wait. Now, another thing that I really liked about the anime as well is that we get like a little bit of a scene between Chrome and Rui. Again, obviously building on things that were established before, like Rui and Chrome. They obviously like each other, and yeah, I ship them. I ship Rui and Chrome. Like, personally, if I was going to do the ending for the series, this is what I would have doing. I would have Senku stepping down, letting Chrome take over, and basically allowing him to marry Ruri. And I could see that Chrome as village chief at the end with Ruri as his wife. That I could actually see, and I don't think anyone would have any problems with that whatsoever. We've gotten to know what their relationship is. Chrome went through so much for her. Basically, he nearly died for her. Basically, if that doesn't tell you that they are going to get together by the end of the series, nothing will whatsoever. And I don't care how Rui is about, like, oh, I'll marry everyone. I think deep down in her heart, like, if she was going to marry anyone that she'd be happy with, it would be Chrome. And like I said, I personally don't see how anyone could see a problem with that actually happening. Chrome has finished chief by the end with Rui as his wife. So, and I love the moment that they had in this moment. Like, they didn't say anything to each other, but just the thought of like, just the stare that they had with each other. It's like Rui was basically saying, Chrome, I'm going to be all right. You just focus on what's important at this moment in time. And I love that. Now, another thing that I've got to praise for the anime for is that the fire, basically, when Homaru makes the fire around, like, the base for the Kingdom of Science and Chrome's shed, that just is, like, just a click, and it's like, oh my god, it's in front of us. Whereas in the manga, we have, like, that panel there where Homaru actually just spreads the fire out, whereas in the anime, that was cut, and I really liked that, because it was, like, just like a oh my god moment basically in the anime that I don't think anybody expected to come out at that point in time. Now, 2 things I want to talk about here. First off is Mother Nature, as you know her from here. I didn't find her particularly as scary in the anime as I did in the manga. Like, that moment is that face right there is the stuff of nightmares, whereas in the anime, I feel like with the green aura that comes around her, I feel like she's a little bit less scary. Now, I don't know whether they did that because they felt like it was too scary and they felt like, okay, we need to tone it down. We need to tone it down a little bit in this context. But also as well, in the anime, they changed the animal. Like in the manga, it's a snake. They changed the animal from to a squirrel. Now, I don't know why that was changed or anything like that, but that's a minor nitpick that I'm gonna say as well. Yeah, personally, Mother Nature is less scary in the anime than she is in the manga. Now, another thing that I feel like I should bring up here is that this point right here where Hyoga's making his declaration, that's moved to a lot later when Senku is back at the lab and they're actually rebuilding everything, which, by the way, I did put a note down here that we get more scenes of rebuilding, which I really love, and again, it shows just how much of a community this community actually is, for lack of a better word. How they're like, we can just rebuild, and then we actually see them actually rebuilding everything again, everything back to normal, and just how quick and sufficient they are, and showing a great amount of trust they have in each other. But yeah, basically this part right here with Holga, that's basically moved towards more of the end of the episode, and again, I feel like they did that based on what they do with Tsukasa in this episode itself. Now, a few more things before we move on to talking about episode 20 is that we don't get that little point right here where Gen is just explaining how a cell phone or basically a phone actually works, which again, I feel like that would have been a really good comedic moment to actually include in the episode. But again, that's something that's just so minor again that I'm basically nitpicking at this point. But the main thing that I want to talk about in the episode before the end is that in the episode itself, we get more of an insight into Senku's fantasy. No, actually, do we? No, I don't think we get that part. Like, I don't think we get that in the actual anime itself, which yeah, I feel like that could have actually been included. Again, getting more of an insight into Senku's mind and how he actually feels about the people around him. But one thing I did like about this episode is that we get all of this exposition moved so that it's talking over the roadmap being developed. So this all here gets placed all over here, and I love that how they just take little moments like that and just put them into the montages that show a greater passage of time. But the main thing I want to talk about here is the fact that at the end of the episode, where basically that roadmap there that closes the chapter, but the episode actually closes on this point right here when Hyoga reports that Senku is alive. Now, I'm pretty sure that they did that because it made it a bit more ominous and it left it on a, like, oh my god, Tsukasa knows that Senku is alive at this point moments that probably got people on the edge of their seats looking forward to what happens in episode 20, which, by the way, that's what we're going to be moving right on to. Now again, moving stuff around, which I feel like they only did this because they had the ending with Tsukasa at the end of episode 19. Is that we get Gen imitating Tsukasa right at the beginning of the episode, episode 20, at the episode 20, before we get into the whole thing with the cotton candy machine. And again, because it's not really important. Again, it's just showing that, okay, we need to actually include this, but where does it actually fit in what we want to tell in our story? And I feel like they thought, like, well, since we ended the episode on Tsukasa, episode 19, we might as well talk about him at the beginning of episode 20 before we get into the whole cotton candy making machine. Now, with episode 20, aside from the obvious change from the way the episode actually opens, it pretty much flows verbatim from the manga, and especially one part I actually did like is the part with the cotton candy where just the reactions, they just came straight out of the manga, and I just laughed my arse off at that moment. And I've got to give the anime credit for just making those scenes just look as hilarious as possible. Now, one thing I'm a little bit disappointed about is that they changed the word here, like when where is it? There, right there, where they're doing like the comedy skit, and they change the word into a Moro Tsukunami sketch comedy, which is obviously comes from the 100 Tales. They changed that word to meme, and the reason why I don't particularly like that is because I feel like that word, that like comedy sketch, could like apply to any time, but as meme seems a little bit of an outdated slang that only exists in like the modern time where we are, and I feel like just changing that just was a little bit unnecessary. Now, as much as I would like to say here that the montage is extended, I love that about it. I love how the montage is extended and how we get various other characters like just throughout the village just doing their own thing, and we just get to explore them as well and what their strengths and what their capabilities are. One thing that I will absolutely not tolerate, not just because she's my favourite character, but also because it just takes away a little bit from her character as well, is this line right here with Suika and making the golden wire and everything like that. She's like, since the grown-ups are all busy getting ready for winter, Suika and the other kids can help out. And again, the reason why I feel like this takes away from her character is because of the fact that she has spent a lot more time around Senku than on any of the other kids. She's kind of become the de facto leader of the little kids of the village herself, and just that little moment there perfectly says that. It's like, since the grown-ups are off getting ready for winter, we'll do our bit as well. And everybody's just like, yes, we'll do our bit as well. And just taking out that moment, like, just again took away from her as a character herself. Now again, in the episode, like I said before, exposition is stayed over a montage as well, which from what yeah, basically the expositions here are all over a montage before we actually get the big reveal of the war wheel and the water hydroelectrical thing. And again, the anime did a pretty good job of just demonstrating just the sheer power of the electrical hydroelectrical plants, basically. And yeah, that was the end of episode 20. Like I said, not much to talk about because there wasn't really much altered in the grand scheme of things, but still had quite a bit to talk about. So now let's move on to episode 21, and then after that, we've only got the last 3 episodes to go, guys. So now we're moving on to volume 7 here, and I know I haven't taken the sticker off from when I got it from the shops, but I'll take it off at some point. But yeah, basically this is the volume that will end the first season of the anime. Hopefully we'll get season 2, and judging by the sheer popularity of Dr. Stone, I would be surprised if we didn't get a season 2. Now, I'll just explain here what's going to be happening at this point. Like, I will get episodes 22, 23, and 24 done. I'll get them done when they come out. But then after that, and with the Promised Neverland reviews, I'll be taking a break over Christmas. And in the new year, I'll be talking about We Never Learn, and then hopefully Promised Neverland. But if by chance it doesn't come out after I've talked about We Never Learn Season 2, I'm going to be moving on to talk about Demon Slayer, and then hopefully talking about Promised Neverland Season 2. So yeah, that'll be the structure I'll be going with what's the difference, and then hopefully when it does come out, Chainsaw Man, which I'm started reading and I'm loving, and Act Age, they will get the What's the Difference treatment, because those 5 are like the series that I watch, that I read at the moment. It's like Promised Neverland, We Never Learn, Dr. Stone, Demon Slayer, Act Age, and Chainsaw Man. Sorry, six series. But yeah, there's a lot to work with, so hopefully that'll do. But if they don't come out sooner rather than later, then there will be no What's the Difference. That I'll only do What's the Difference on series that I've actually read as well. That are sort of like okay, I read this first, so now I can talk about what's the difference between the anime and the manga, and not the other way around, because I don't feel like that works in that context. Basically for me and my style of what I actually want to go with. So yeah, basically that'll be the structure moving forward after this. Like, I'll be taking a break over Christmas, then be coming back in the new year, talk about We Never Learn Season 2, what's the difference between that, and then hopefully Demon Slayer, then Promised Neverland, then hopefully Dr. Stone Season 2. I really, as much as I would love to do what's the difference between Rise of the Shield Heroes anime and manga, one guy already did that. Have no problems with that at all. And then hopefully, when we get to it, there'll be another series that I want to talk about, which is called There's a Demon Lord on the Floor. Now, that's a series that I have actually been reading, and I absolutely adore that series. It's a comedy series. I highly recommend it. It's about this, I'll just talk about that briefly. It's about this demon lord that basically comes down to Earth and starts working in a restaurant, similar to The Devil's a Part-Timer, basically. So if you like The Devil's a Part-Timer, you probably absolutely love this series. And also Please Stop Bullying Me, Nagamata-san. That's another series that has actually had its volumes being released now. So if that anime comes out, I will be talking about that series as well. So those are 2 that hopefully, fingers crossed, will be coming in the near future. That's all I can say about those series. And for now, let's get on to talking about episode 21, because first thing I want to talk about as well is that we get a little bit more explanation at the beginning of just how everything in general works. And again, like I said, I love that, because again, it just shows like the anime is just building on things that were laying the groundwork in the manga, and not just stretching them out for the sake of stretching them out like they do in some other series. One Piece anime. Yeah, I agree with the guys in Control Chaos on that. Like, the anime for One Piece is god awful, because of the fact that it takes it takes less than half a chapter to get through one episode, basically. Now, like, you could be looking at a panel where the characters just scream in one panel, but they get reactions from everyone. It builds up for 5 minutes. Not to mention we have to deal with the intro, which takes up 2.5 minutes in and of itself. So yeah, like I said here, I don't mind them adding stuff with Dr. Stone as long as they actually include everything from the manga and they don't overstay their welcome. So yeah, that's what's happening here. And also another thing as well is that in the anime we have more scenes, particularly let me find it if I can find it. It's a little bit further along. I believe, wasn't there a moment? Yeah. Yeah, there's a moment. Yeah, right here. This moment right here where we have Giron actually looking at the battery. Yeah, Suika in the anime is actually by Senku's side in that scene. I love that as well because again it shows just how curious of a character Suika is and how much she's willing to learn from Senku, and by actually being by his side and observing it gives better credence to how they completely trust each other. Like, okay, Suika, be by my side, you can watch this, and then if something happens to me you can actually discuss this with Chrome himself. And I love that about the anime, and I really wish they just include those little bits of Suika being by Senku's side in the manga. Now again, another thing that I like is, as I explained before when I was talking about the background characters in the manga, we have we have the characters here where they're like, hooray, hooray for energy, whereas in the manga there are characters that we've actually not in the anime, there are characters that we've actually seen before, like the like Garnet, Ruby and Sapphire. We've seen those characters and they're in the background, whereas here it just seems like they're just random characters that don't have any distinctive features about them. And I love how they gave those characters more of the spotlight in the anime. Now one thing I'll say is that I believe that Suika and Shuffle actually planting and picking is moved more towards this point right here where they're actually getting ready to demonstrate the Christmas tree. Now I could be wrong on that point, but that's something that I just wanted to bring up. That that point is actually shifted a little bit in the manga, probably it's included in like more of the montage moment of everyone just getting ready for the winter and everything, and I love that as well. Again, like I said, like just showing how great this community is and how they actually come together to prepare for a period of time that's actually going to last a really long time in this regard. But also what I really love is that they actually cut out the little bit of fourth wall here from manga and magma and mantle, where they're like exceptions, like you're talking about us when you're talking about people that won't respect Senku. So I really like that they actually just cut that little bit out, because it was a little bit, while funny in the manga, it kind of took a little bit away from the moment itself. Now one thing that I was really disappointed in the anime is that in the manga, Chrome gets the idea of like actually exploring a cave right away after they've seen like, oh, this Christmas tree and everything, and he's like, wait a minute, I've got one bad idea. We need a whole massive ingredients for the cell phone, right? And with batteries and light bulbs, we could get all sorts of ores and minerals from deep in the cave that were too dark. Like he actually waits to get that idea until the next day. Basically, at this point right here, that's when he gets the idea. And also, Senku again are less shocked in the anime than they are in the manga, and I really think that does take away a little bit from Chrome's character, how he's supposed to be on equal foot, like not as equal footing as Senku, but in terms of like being the smartest in Ishigami Village, like originally from Ishigami Village, he is the smartest out of all of them. And the fact that even Senku and Gen were actually surprised, like, oh my god, Crone actually thought of something really useful here. That again, just taking that away, again takes away a bit of like the relationship that's been built up between Chrome, Gen, and Senku as characters themselves, and shows like, wow, we never thought about that. And again, shows Chrome's notion to think outside of the box even more so than Senku ever could, basically. Now, in terms of like the actual pun that actually was in the episode when Chrome actually makes a pretty innuendo pun, basically. I feel like the pun works better in the manga, because in the anime it was like copped some copper, whereas in the manga it was like copper feel of this copper. I feel like that works a lot more better and is a lot more funnier than copped some copper, and it just makes the innuendo that much more hilarious as a result. So yeah, I feel like the anime just dropped the gun on just how they delivered that pun, basically. Now, the one thing that I want to say is that the Dear Senku Wakey Wakey bit here, that works a lot more better, again, in the manga than it does in the anime, because in the anime, Senku is actually wide awake, whereas in the manga, he's actually half asleep, and he's like, "Ugh," and then Gen's like, Senku Wakey Wakey, it's like, holy shit, like, that works a lot more better in the manga, because he's actually a little bit asleep, and he's like in a daze and in a dream state, which makes it all the more surprising in of itself. Now again, they took away a little bit from Suika's character as well, because in the manga, like right here, when they're all getting ready to go on the hill, right here, Suika in the anime, actually fell asleep after looking at the rocks all night, whereas in the manga, she is wide awake, and again, I love that about her character, like, just another thing that makes her so awesome is the fact that she's so dedicated to helping Senku and helping the Kingdom of Science and doing whatever she can. Like, she will stay awake all night if she has to, if it helps Senku just that little bit more to get what he needs. And again, I feel like without Suika in the series, they probably would be so much screwed, because she's done so much. She's basically been a stealth master, and even though she says herself not as rock expert as Chromo Senku, the fact that she just had this instinct to like just keep searching the rocks, and she was just like, I'll just take this one, and it was just like her instinct, like, just take that one. That really showcased just how awesome of a character she is. And it's further emphasised here because her thoughts were actually cut out here, and I feel like this would have helped so much in the anime just to get people like, okay, Suika is a pretty awesome character, whereas here she's like, at a glance, there was nothing too unusual about the stone Suika held. No, an ordinary looking stone, but a strangely heavy one. It wasn't knowledge that informed her, more like uncanny intuition owned by years of playing in nature. And again, showing just how much skill she's had just being out in the wilderness, and just how much training she's had, that she's able to like indicate like, okay, this rock, nothing's so unusual about it, but it's strangely heavy, so I feel like this could actually be important. And of course, it was when it was actually revealed that she is actually holding tungsten, that tungsten. And again, I love how they gave her just like the Stone World OCT in that moment in time, showing like this is just a powerful moment for her as a character, showing that yes, her and Chrome have made such an awesome team, and basically got them. They've basically Suika got them out of such a pickle that it's so awesome that she was the one that was actually able to do that. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the character selection screen, when they are like thinking like, basically here, and they have like in the anime the character selection screen, and they show all the characters and basically what their stats are. Basically, perfect style for like a Dr. Stone video game if they ever actually want to do that. There's some advertisement in of itself right there. But yeah, that was the last thing that I wanted to talk about in these episodes. Like I said, really good episodes. It's just the fact that they just kept changing things around that just made it so much confusing. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, I have to go back and cut it and like cross that out and just basically change it all around, basically write my notes on the episodes itself. But aside from them, they really showcased a lot in this episode. I'm really glad as well that they just gave much more for the background characters to do in these episodes, as opposed to just keeping them as background characters, even though technically they still are, and they're not going to play a major role moving forward. But it was just nice to see them that actually getting that treatment that they actually did deserve. But anyway, guys, that was it on the episodes. What did you think of them? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And this will be Lasher Luke signing off. Later, guys!